Shalom. You reached the Heat Parade channel. My name is Isaac Mawar. But first and foremost, I want to say, Call Halayu, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Harakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, 71319, aka GMS, where I learned this truth from, and who rule well. Salutations to the Bakiyar, the elect, the 144,000. That's 12,000 men from each of the 12 tribes of Israel. The 12 tribes of Israel consist of you so-called blacks, Latinos, and indigenous of America. 144,000 being the governing body within the one-third. The rest of the one-third consists of elect men, women, and children. Shalom to those Israelites scattered due to the diaspora and also the triangular trade. So our people will come looking like different ethnicities, having various complexions. So this is not a black thing. We're not the black Hebrew Israelites. We're just Hebrew Israelites. Shalom to those that died in this truth. It says the dead should be raised up first. Those that will be accompanying Yahweh Shah on his return, including our King, King Mashah, who is King David. And as always, it's an honor and privilege, honor and blessing to continue to do this work. The water Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah for permitting me to do such. Abu Kashah Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah allows us to be an edifying lesson to at least one member of the elect. This is from Daily Costs. It says Trump supports calls to hang political opponents. President Trump is supporting calls to hang opposition lawmakers. 6 Democrats in Congress called upon members of the military to disobey illegal orders to murder alleged drug traffickers on the high seas. Trump responded by posting that these lawmakers should be arrested and put on trial. Not sure what he would hope to charge them with. It's First Amendment protected speech, and beyond that, protected by the Constitution's Congressional Immunity Clause. Trump then reposted to his accounts responses calling for the Democrats to be hanged. A more direct advocacy of political violence is not imaginable. Trump doubles down and calls for the execution of Democrat lawmakers. More from Trump's claims, their words are seditious and states they should be put to death. For the record, sedition is the advocacy of violence against the government. The lawmakers involved were advocating peace by the government. It's kind of literal, the opposition of sedition. It should be noted that the maximum punishment under the actual sedition statute is 20 years. It does not include death. Trump's words arguably violate 18 U.S.C. 1151B. Whoever threatens to assault, kidnap, or murder a United States official with intent to impede, intimidate, or interfere with such official, judge, or law enforcement officer while engaged in the performance of official duties, or with intent to retaliate against such official, judge, or law enforcement officer on account of the performance of official duties should be punished. Alas, the Supreme Court has almost certainly granted Trump immunity for this crime. I guess that's it. This is from Kama Chanda. If the question is, who would George Washington hang, Trump wouldn't like to answer. This is from Jay from Georgia. It's, I think, responding to Biden my time. It says, but elected officials have greater immunity for speech than soldiers. And they only said the soldiers should disobey illegal orders, which is the law. Trump's comments show his ignorance and or total disregard of the law. He wants to be able to kill people at his whim. He is one sick puke. Um, then he got which P78, I think, reposted. It says, "Hang them, George Washington Wood." So this is narrow, man, as the apostles have said, and I believe by just having gone through that history and doing my own research, you know, this is a message to Egypt, which when you go to the book of Exodus, 22 maybe. Let me see. 20 and 2. This is Exodus chapter 20, verse 2. It says, I am Yahweh, thy power, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, which was Martazarian. And in all actuality, it wasn't uh, the Heavenly Father. It was Yahweh Shai that brought us up out of Egypt. It says, out of the house of bondage, which proves that so-called Jesus was around during the Old Testament. As he was Yahweh Shah, the angel that was leading us. But Egypt, what I wanted to, what do you call it, highlight, is just an allegory for the house of bondage, right? So modern day Egypt would be America, because America is known as the house of bondage, the modern day house of bondage, due to its history, its slavery history. This is Isaiah chapter 19, verse 1. The burden of America, behold, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, which really is going to be Yahweh Shai, rideth upon a swift cloud, which is a chariot. Now they say three-eyed Atlas. They're not really giving any images of it, which, they're going to lie. They're not going to give the public the truth on that. They're going to send their agents to all these different um, people that have telescopes and are observing it and silence them, because they don't want you to have it in your mind that there may be what they will say visitors coming from a different planet, because they don't want to create mass panic and hysteria. And also, Esau, he doesn't want to lose his grip, you know? So he's going to say that they're hostile, and have you people fighting against the Lord and the angels when they return. It says, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, by his immense power. Also, for the fact, as it says in Second Ezra, I believe the 13th chapter, he's going to be riding on top of the so-called UFO, which is a chariot of Israel, look like a mountainous ship, you know, and they're going to see him that he looks like a so-called Negro. And everything that, those so-called blacks, Latinos, and indigenous have been saying, that been reading out of the Bible all throughout these years, as came true. It says, in the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. So you people are going to be afraid. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. So the Most High, he's going to put the spirit on you people here in America to fight each other. And the statement that Trump made concerning the executions of congressional members, is putting fuel to that fire until, it turns into a inferno. It says, and they shall fight everyone against his brother and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. Even those against in World War III, Edomites are going to be fighting each other, man. As it says in Psalms, the 83rd chapter, they're going to go out in the way of the Midianites, which the Midianites died by fighting each other. It says, and the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof. So you're going to see the real idiocracy. You watch the movie of America real soon, or you already see it, especially during the time of Biden. But, segue into Trump, you're starting to see the idiocracy of this place, man. That's the Most High destroying the counsel of it. One of the blunders was the tariffs. I just came back from the store, 5 chicken breasts, $10. I don't even want to look at ground meat, but a pack of maybe 2 or 3 pound ground meat is like $8-9. If you want to get the whole tube, it's like $30. 2 New York strip steaks is $30. And it's going to continue to get worse. It says, in the spirit of Egypt, I already read that. It says, and they shall seek to the idols and to the charmers and to them that have familiar spirits and to the wizards. And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord. And this cruel Lord is Donald Trump, man. He's been itching to get back in the office. For some odd reason, they put Biden in there. I guess they weren't all the way ready. But Donald Trump is that cruel Lord, man. It says, and a fierce king shall rule over them, save Yahweh Shai, Yahweh Shai of armies. And that's why he set up his circle around it, man. And when you look at this administration, um, it looks nothing It looks just like a clan meeting, man. So my brain ain't working today. Um, I think it's four, maybe. Let me see if I can find it. But as the scripture says, I forget where it's at. My brain ain't working right now. But it says, as the ruler of a city, so is his officers. Let me see. I gotta do that little shit. Sometimes you forget. Make sure I'm spelling it right. Right. Okay, I was gonna go to 10, but I thought it was got it mixed up with the never trust thy enemy, which is a good scripture too. But this is the book of Ecclesiasticus or Sirach, chapter 10, verse 1. It says, um, a wise judge will instruct his people. And when you go into the scriptures, all the righteous kingdoms had instruct their people with the laws of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua. And when they deviated from that, that's when there came peril. It says, in the government of a prudent man, so the government, which government goes into mind control, right? Ment means mind, where you get the Latin mentis, right? And then govern means to control. So, you know, this, and as you can see, these governments are different than, from one another. With, different laws, different statutes, setting forth different vibrations, and some adopt the same philosophies and wine as America and try to emulate America, which is not wise. It says, as the judge of the people is himself. So if Donald Trump is that cruel Lord, right? So are his officers. And that's why you have them changing the Department of Defense to the Department of War. And you have them in South and Central America threatening military strikes. You know, it says, in what manner a man the ruler of the city is. And we're starting to see through those Epstein emails that, Trump ain't nothing but a cocksucker, man. You know, they're all a bunch of freaks and sexual deviants and pedophiles and murderers with blood on their hands and red shoes because they fancy the hide of killed children, man. It says, in what manner the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein, because they voted for him. Just like during the first Trump term, these Edomites began to be a little bit more uppity than usual. you know? And that's the same spirit that they're going to be and that they're in now. It says an unwise king destroyed his people. So this is what Trump's doing, man. You know, despite him saying that he went to this or that college or he has this or that intellect or can't nobody do it but him, he's destroying his people. He didn't even want to extend EBT and social services. He wants to cut your Medicare, your medical insurances. It says, but through the prudence, the wisdom of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited. And America is soon not to be inhabited. It's going to be destroyed by thermonuclear destruction. It says, the power of the earth is in the hand of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai, and in due time he will set over it one that is profitable, which is going to be King David, because Yahweh Shai is going to still act as the high priest, the mediator, but Yahweh is going to be dwelling with us, So therefore, there's going to be a profitable government that is going to rule the earth real soon. Which, all this sedition talk has been going around for quite some time. But this is 2nd Ezra chapter 15, verse 14. It says, woe, which means destruction, to the world and them that dwell therein. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. So as each and every day passes, as I've always been saying for years, it's coming, man. And one people shall stand up to fight against another. There's going to be wars on the streets. The way the political sphere is looking seems like they're trying to steer it to the statement in which that individual in the movie, what was it called? Civil War. What type of American are you, man? And that's how the Most High has caused such division. When kingdom is so divided, it's bound to fall. In 2026 is that 250-year expiry date of kingdoms for America, man. It says in swords in their hands. So there's going to be people out on the streets with guns, killing each other, looking for food, robbing each other. You women that are lewd and don't think nothing's ever going to happen to you, you're going to get knocked over the head and raped. If not just outright put to death and eaten. It says, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. And this is not just going to happen here in America. It's going to be worldwide, because this whole global economy is going to crash. It's going to collapse. And then they're going to come with the solution, which is the MOTB, the C-hip, the micro thing, the tic-tac. The tic-tac to make your body whack, because it's going to cause cancer, and cancer is sores. That radio frequency. says a man shall desire to go into a city, they're going to lock down these cities. You know, you even have certain states talking about redistricting or breaking up into 3 or 4 sections or outright, what do they call it? For lack of better words, deunionizing from the United States, which you had a test run of it during the pandemic. It says, "And shall not be able, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid." People are gonna be breaking into your houses, and destroying your shit, or it might get hit by a bomb, might get hit by a missile or RPG, because they got all that shit here in America. Don't think they don't. How many times, how many stories do you hear of, police receiving IEDs or rocket propelled grenades and grenade launchers at gun buybacks? And you don't think that, that's the only ones that's here in America? It says, "A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation." So Yahweh Shem Yahushua is bringing great tribulation, man. Because, you know, they say absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? And that's what happens when you give power onto a spirit like Esau. And this is the Heavenly Father showing you that he just showing you his power. He could take the base of men and put him in this position, man. Right? But this is Ezekiel chapter 28, verse 1. "The word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus," which the modern day prince of Tyrus is really Esau, "Thus saith Yahweh, behold, Slakia, because thy heart, which is your mind, is lifted up. When your mind is lifted up, you exhibit pride, and pride is an enemy. It says, and thou hast said, I am God." So these people fancy themselves as gods, through their technology, through their blessing, which is the sword, man. If they didn't have the Gatling gun, they wouldn't be in power right now, man. But the Gatling gun was given to them because it was uh, manifest destiny, and then it, uh, what do you call it? For lack of better words, then they further progressed, engineered their technology to go further than that, to now they have a missile, which is the waster in the scriptures. So with those different forms of defensive or offensive weapons, now they think that they are God, and they dictate the past, present, and future in their mind. It says, "I sit in the seat of God in the midst of the seas." Where is America positioned? By 2 massive oceans, man. It says, "Yet thou art a man and not God, though thou set thy heart as the heart of God." So since Their pride has clouded their judgment. The Most High, He's going to remind them that they're not God. Behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from thee. And nobody is a better researcher than Esau, man. Especially considering um, all the work that he's did to be the damn devil he is ever since the rebirth. It says, with thy wisdom and with thy understanding thou hast gotten thee riches, and hast gotten gold and silver into thy treasures, which that's what Esau did here in America, but he's not giving those foreign nations their treasures back, man. There ain't no treasures in Fort Knox. It says, by thy great wisdom and by thy traffic, dealing with commerce, hast thou increased thy riches, which that entails plane, trains, boats, and automobiles. And thy heart is lifted up because of thy riches. Yeah, he's always talking about the $20 trillion GDP. But yet people are going hungry and homeless and, dying on the streets, which is an eyesore for, these heathen nations when they come here to America and they see America for what it is beyond the brochure, beyond the idiot box, right? It says, therefore, thus saith Yahweh, because thou hast set thy heart as the heart of the Most High. Behold, therefore, I will bring strangers upon thee, which is these heathen nations, the terrible of the nations, and they shall draw their swords, their missiles, against the beauty of thy wisdom, and they shall defile thy brightness. They shall bring thee down to the pit, and thou shalt die the deaths of them that are slain in the midst of the seas. Because those that are slain in the midst of the seas, they're found no more at all. Wilt thou yet say before him that slayeth thee, I am God? But thou shalt be a man and no God in the hand of him that slayeth thee. And also the seas represents people, man. Esau, he's going to be slain in the midst of the people, right? Those missiles are going to hit America, and, the remnants of those that survived, they're going to be looking at America on fire, burning. It says, thou shalt die the deaths of the uncircumcised by the hand of strangers, for I have spoken it, saith Yahweh. You know, also America is deemed as that destroying mountain, which a mountain represents a government. This is Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 24. And I will render unto Babylon and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea, which Chaldea would be the equivalent of the rich elite bankers today, because they are the shadow government that runs the world. The Rothschilds, the DuPonts, the Gettys, the Rockefellers, the Lees, etc., etc. All their evil that they have done in Zion, which is a nickname for Israel, which means monument, in your sight, and say, Yahweh, Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain. America is that destroying mountain, saith Yahweh, which destroys all the earth. And I will stretch out my hand upon thee and roll thee down the rock. So America is gonna be like it's being rolled down the rocks, man. Just imagine one of those Mortal Kombat video games and you gotta fight your way to the top of the mountain or whatever. Just imagine getting to the top of the mountain, being Spartan kicked off of it and just rolling all the way back down. That's what's gonna happen to America, man. It says, and will make thee a burnt mountain because it's gonna get hit by 200 million warheads, man. And we can't say now that that's not uh, possible because now the world doesn't know how many missiles and warheads there is now. The world has been going off of old data. These other nations, they've been stockpiling. And a lot of the times, these nations are doing things secretly. So, according to biblical prophecy, it says 200 million. Verse 26, and they shall not take of thee a stone for a corner, nor a stone for foundations, but thou shalt be desolate forever, saith Yahweh. So America is never going to get built back. They're never going to make America great again after it's destroyed by thermonuclear destruction. But I'm just going to end it on this because he's talking about hanging people. We have to also understand as, believers that we may be faced with the proposition of life or death, right? This is Revelation chapter 2, verse 10. It says, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil, which it could be anybody that is in cahoots or, aiding and abetting this damn devil, man. Could be a nigga that's putting you to death. Could be a Native American that's chopping your head off or handling you in those internment camps, man. Could be a Jake. But they're the equivalent of the devil because they are siding with him. It says the devil shall cast some of you into prison that ye may be tried, which to be tried meaning to be tested, and being locked up ain't fun, man. And brothers haven't ever experienced being in prison or jailed or shackled or handcuffed. Pray to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua to give you the spirit to endure that because it's not fun. Especially when you're in close confinement, you get claustrophobic, It says, and you shall have tribulation 10 days, a complete amount of time. I know whenever I was in my situations, I was praying like crazy, man. And you know how Jake is. I'll do 10 videos a day. Please get me out. I just want to do the videos. And he ends up getting you out, But to be honest, I haven't kept my word. I need to keep my word about just going hella hard. Y'all shout out this out. He put the spirit on me to go back to doing 3 videos, 5 videos a day. It says, "Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life." So if you're faithful unto death in these processes, because it's all a process, Yahweh Shem Yahshua is going to give you a crown of life, man. But the stage is set. Donald Trump is that cruel Lord that is already putting the spirit, the vibration out there. And also, I mentioned in my previous video, them talking about doing public executions. He's putting that gallows spirit out there, man, hanging individuals in the gallows. And if that's the case, Yahweh Sharatazah, Haman, aka Vocab Malone, gets put in the gallows. But with that, I hope at least one brother elect was edified, and I'm gonna say shalom.